Hello, this is Real World News, which is a journalism program produced by the students at QUT. My name is Paige Van Lunteren and our guest today is Henry Fraser. Henry completed his doctorate at Oxford University in 2018. He also has a law degree and he is now a postdoctoral research fellow at the Queensland University of Technology. His research focuses on automated decision-making and society. Thank you so much for joining us today, Henry.
That's my pleasure, Paige.
So tell us, what is automated decision-making and what are some examples we've encountered in the real world?
Absolutely. It's more or less what it says on the box. It's either making a whole decision using a computer or some sort of automated means, or participating in a decision made by humans, using a computer somewhere along the line. Examples, you're probably most familiar with the kinds of automated decision making in the online environment. So when you type a query into a search engine like Google, Google has an algorithm that decides how to rank the results to that search query. That's an automated decision deciding how to present the information. It's a complicated algorithm. Another example you might be familiar with is if you're on Netflix and you get, there's a section there that says recommended for you. Well, it's not like an individual person has gone and recommended that. They've profiled you based on what you've watched and what other people in a similar demographic have watched and stuck with, and then made a decision as to what to present to you in order to keep you on the app, keep you subscribed.
So your research focuses on assessing the risks of AI and attributing responsibility for those risks to someone.
Right. Yes.
So how do you go about testing whether something is safe and accurate?
That's a really tough question, actually. So it's very difficult to attribute responsibility for harms caused by some kinds of autonomous systems. One reason is that the workings of really complex systems are so opaque that even the developers don't necessarily know how the system came to the decision. So working out what went wrong is one problem. That's a difficulty. There's another difficulty in that there are a lot of moving parts. It might not just be one system, it might be a lot of components, lots of different pieces of code, lots of different apps all within one system, and those have been created by different people. So knowing who's responsible for the thing that went wrong is really tough. And then there's a third element, which is autonomy. The systems are developed using data and they're trained and they are tested, and then they go out into the real world. But if they encounter something that doesn't really match with the training or testing data, there's a chance it might do something unpredictable. And working out who to hold accountable for an act which has been done by a machine that no one really predicted can be difficult, but I think it's possible.
So let's take the example of self-driving cars then, if you don't mind.
Fantastic, yeah.
So once they've passed all the checks and they're out in the real world, how do we attribute who's responsible for those harms that they might cause?
Well, yeah, it's a difficult question, and there are a lot of different legal tools that are available to us, and I actually think that what's likely to happen is we'll use a combination of all of them. So, right now with your car, one of the ways that we deal with attributing responsibility, or at least the cost of the harm, is insurance. You pay insurance for third-party, compulsory third-party insurance, and you also have voluntary insurance. Manufacturers also have to get insured for product liability, and product liability is another law that's there. So if there's been some kind of fault in the manufacturing or the development, that might come into play. Or if there's been negligence, someone's really not done the appropriate kind of testing or used the appropriate kind of data or whatever, then there's a way to hold people accountable for having been negligent and not having taken enough care. So my sense is that what will happen is, with automated cars is, there's another layer I should say as well, which is to prevent the harm in the first place, having safety regimes and standards, and those are in the process of developing for different levels of automation. And I think that all the different laws will converge around sort of expectations about how careful you have to be. And then deviations from those expectations will either mean, your insurance is voided, or you're liable in product liability, or you're negligent, and so on. So, we've got all these legal tools. It's just a matter of making them work.
So in saying all of that, do you think the world's ready for this sort of automation?
Well, if we're not ready, we better be ready because it's happening everywhere, in every walk of life. From government decision making to smart robots, to shaping your online environment and the information you perceive. So yeah, we better catch up.
Is there anything you'd like to add today, Henry?
Just thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I encourage you to keep looking into these issues and problems and interviewing experts.
Thank you so much for your time today, Henry.
My pleasure.
Once again, Dr Henry Fraser is a researcher here at QUT. My name is Paige Van Lunteren and this is Real World News. See you next time.